Hello, and welcome to the Impostor Syndrome Network podcast, where everyone belongs, especially if you think you don't. Welcome, imposters. My name is Chris Grundeman, and unfortunately, Zoe Rose is not with us today. She is at Cisco Live doing her thing there. And by that, since you're listening to this on the 8th of August, you now know how far in advance we recorded these, but she's out for today. However, we do have an amazing guest. This is the Chris Malayter episode. It's going to be great. Chris is a career network engineer and engineering leader with 25 years of experience. He's an interconnection expert and an all-around good dude. Hey, Chris, would you please introduce yourself a bit further to the Impostor Syndrome Network?
Hey, Chris. So I'm currently the Vice President, Network and Interconnection at CoreSite. I'm the Chairman of the Board at PeeringDB, volunteer organization, and that's about it for right now.
Perfect. That works. I did mention that you are an interconnection expert, and you talked about being on the chair of the board for PeeringDB. So we'll probably get to more of that volunteer work and that you do and have done in that space. Plus, we'll obviously talk about that role at CoreSite and what that entails. But I actually want to start by exploring the bigger picture a bit, as this is a space near and dear to my heart as well. When you say you are working on improving interconnection, as I think you do on your LinkedIn profile, what does that mean?
What does it mean? So, basically, a lot of this goes to do with my day job and, how we take out hops in the interconnection, how we improve the fiber, how we lessen the impact of the plant to our customers. It could be anything from splice bypass, where we're removing the IDF as a connection point and turning it into a splice point, or, it's as simple as moving to an APC, angle polish connector, MDF. So rather than having this traditional UPC, we have APC in our newest facilities. And then, my role in PeeringDB, truly everything we can do to reduce the friction of getting interconnection going is what we're focused on.
Nice. I like it. Yeah. And that makes a lot of sense. It's cool that there's, especially at CoreSite, right, these different ways, even all the way down to layer one, that can actually make this stuff better and bring things together. In a lot of ways, right, like the internet gets compared to the highway system or railroads or stuff like that all the time. And one of the things that railroads and highway systems and I guess, airplane routes and all that stuff has done is shrunk the world. And I'm guessing, right? At least I think the way it works is interconnection is kind of doing that as well through the internet, right? It's kind of bringing everybody closer together in some ways, whether it's by milliseconds or route miles or whatever.
I couldn't agree more. I think that as we evolve the ecosystem at the edge and we start to see more tier 2 and tier 3 cities become traditional classic interconnection hubs, you're going to start to see interconnection becoming very, very local. And I think we may not be in that position for another 5 years, but I think fundamentally that is the direction that we're heading.
Yeah, it makes sense. So, diving into that from kind of, or maybe kind of angling off from that a little bit, right? I think your title is VP of Network and Interconnection at CoreSite. And kind of in total, that's almost 12 years in that role or around that company anyway. I wonder, what do you tell strangers that don't know anything about the internet or interconnection, what you do when they ask what you do? Like, how do you describe what you do to people who aren't on the inside of this?
That's a good question. If you ask my mom and my dad, I work with computers. If you ask, my aunt and uncle, I do that internet thing. And, to anyone walking up off the street, I say, fundamentally, my job is to connect customer A to customer B, whether it be Google, Sprint, Cogent, it doesn't matter. My job is to get the customers connected together.
Nice. I think that's a good description. And then what does that mean in practical terms? Like, what do you actually do? What are your days spent doing? If somebody's, thinking about, hey, VP of Network and Interconnection, that sounds like a cool job. Like, what are they actually in store for? What's the day-to-day actually look like?
I don't have a traditional day-to-day. I really don't. We have so much work going on. It's not funny. So, fundamentally, we have buildings, we're getting buildings out there. So there's, let's start at the beginning. We started the design. We have a new design that we're going to use for SV9 and NY3. And in this design, we don't have any IDFs. So none, zero. It's just splice trays. And that's radical departure for us.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, because we won't have any copper in our buildings. And a couple of data center providers have done this already. You know, they've said, we're done with copper. And we followed along and we said, hey, you know, it's been 20 years since I walked into the role and people said, you know, T1s are going away and T1s are still here. So, you know, it's time to put a pole in the sand and say, it's time to do away with copper. So that's probably the biggest time suck of what my job is the architecture and design of our new builds. And then the next is, you know, we got a ton of equipment that's out there that we need to maintain. And so we have various maintenance programs that are going on at any given time. And that's a big chunk of energy. And then we have a group that's dedicated to automation, and they're taking old processes and automating it. And that's, you know, the other chunk of my day. And between those three chunks and a couple other groups within the broader American Tower organization, that's pretty much what I'm doing.
Yeah, makes sense. That's cool. You know, one thing that strikes me, and I do want to talk about, you had like a short departure from CoreSite that I want to touch on, but before that, you know, kind of just in this, right, 11 years and 6 months, I think is the math I did on a full tenure there. So in technology, right, that's maybe 1,000 years. I don't know, right? I mean, for a lot of people's technology careers, that's a hugely long time to be at one organization. So I wonder if you could talk to us a little bit about building a career within a single organization, because that may be somewhat foreign to a lot of other technology professionals.
Yeah. You know, I came in as a director. I got lucky. I applied for a senior network engineer job, and my boss at the time, to get my salary where it needed to be, graded me in as a director, which was super cool. And, you know, I moved up to senior director and vice president through the years. And, you know, I'd say you can job hop and make a lot more money. I can guarantee you that. But for me, quality of life has been a big aspect of what I'm looking for. And this company is an outstanding company from a quality of life, from family oriented, everything like that. It's, I had a new employee start on my team a couple of weeks ago, and I said, you know, one of the reasons why that I like it here is that assholes don't last. I mean, and they really don't. If you are a mean person or you have a negative attitude, you will not last long at CoreSite. And that family attitude, that positive attitude, it's addicting.
Yeah, I bet. It sounds good. We talked to Phil Koblenz, the founder of NYI. And obviously he's in a little bit different situation because it's kind of his company and he's been there for a long time for that reason, I guess. But he talked about this idea of being a creature of comfort and you know, coming in and like almost having, you know, maybe not quite a family, but having coworkers that, you know, you respect and admire, and the place you go to every day, you actually enjoy being around these people. And it sounds like that's a big part of your journey as well.
Absolutely. Like I could walk into the CEO's office and I could walk into, you know, a security SOC in a data center and have the same get it done attitude from the people. And I love that.
That's cool. Yeah. I think culture plays a lot. Well, it was somebody, I mean, some like venture capitalist person, one of the famous ones, said something about, you know, culture eating strategy for lunch or something. And yeah, that culture part matters a lot.
It does. You know, some people are all about the money. Absolutely. And you know, I could have made a lot more money job hopping. I'll tell you that. But having a family, raising a family, flexibility that's afforded to me by, you know, doctor's appointments, dentist appointments, school, this, you know, whatever. I don't need to take time off. It's just, hey, I'll be back.
Yeah, that's good.
And that's a big part of it.
Sure. Yeah. Because I mean, I think, you know, people talk a lot about work-life balance as if there's kind of these two separate spheres and you've got to like draw this line and like keep one on each side and like try and weigh the scales. But really, I think it's more about work-life integration, right? It's really about being able to live your life with this job.
Well, yeah, I don't like the word integration.
Okay, fair. Why not?
Because I don't really think that I don't want to integrate my work into my family. And so I like to balance, you know, earlier in my career, it was all work all the time, and that didn't leave a lot of room for family. So definitely culture and work-life balance is important. And I would not integrate it.
Yeah, that's fair. I like that. So you mentioned that, maybe if you had job hopped, you could be making more money. I know that there was one little job hop, and I don't want to you went to Deep Edge, but only for about 4 months. And Deep Edge, for those who don't know, is kind of, I guess, kind of a competitor to CoreSite right there, but they're smaller, scrappier, like they're tinier startup kind of thing. What led you to leave, and what led you to come right back? Was that a mistake, or was it a learning experience, or was it just something, project? Yeah.
It was a learning experience. And I'm not going to say why I left and what have you, but I will say it was an awesome experience. Deep Edge has some great data centers in some tier 2, tier 3 markets. I think they could be wildly successful if managed properly. And, it was a learning experience for me to get my hands dirty and actually work on the physical plant, the power, the cooling, all that stuff that I don't deal with at all at CoreSite. And to see that, not at CoreSite scale, but at still a smaller building scale, it was super interesting and super experience.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah, it is good, right? I mean, just getting that different perspective, because I think the downside of working at one place for a really long time, in my view, is you end up almost inherently learning that company's way of doing things, or even the way you do things at that company, and you don't even get to see yourself in this other environment where, oh shit, there's these other things that can happen, and maybe you get some new ideas and stuff from an experience like that, I would guess, anyway.
Absolutely. So we try to promote about 50% within and 50% externally, for that reason. We do not want only CoreSite raised employees to be working for us. We want people from outside of our organization to come in and hopefully set us straight and tell us what we're doing right to what we're doing wrong.
Yeah. So I'm curious, I think I mentioned in the intro, right? You're somewhere like 25 years into your career, something like that. And so almost half of it has been at CoreSite, but not all of it. I'm curious as to kind of where you started, and maybe even not just in technology, but, what was your first ever job? And then how did you end up in technology from there?
So my first ever job was working for a little town north of Madison, Wisconsin, in the public works department. I worked a summer job there, and it was the most backbreaking, hard work I've ever done in my life. I give those people so much respect, because I wouldn't want to do it. And then after that, my mom knew a guy that did this internet thing and thought maybe I'd be interested. And it was back, in the days where dial-up was king. And Daryl Budick is his name, and he's still in the industry today.
Yes, he is. I was on a call with him earlier today. That's funny.
He was my first boss. He hired me to do tech support for an internet service provider that he owned. And that internet service provider merged into, a bigger internet service provider / phone company. And then that phone company got bought by TDS, a large nationwide phone company. And it was there that, I learned how to scale and how to leverage traffic to get what you wanted in peering relationships. And cut my teeth on doing interconnection for real. Then after that, took a job hop to Broadwing strictly for money. And I had to get out of Madison.
Yeah. Yeah.
You couldn't make money in Madison and do this internet thing. So I job hopped to Chicago and went to work for Broadwing, it was recently after the Focal integration and or Focal acquisition. And
okay.
I was actually working at the Focal Pop for Broadwing. So that was interesting. And I did that for a couple of years, 2, 3, 4, something like that. So long ago, I don't remember.
Yeah.
And they announced that they were getting bought by Level 3. And I didn't want to stick around for that bloodbath. So
sure.
I job hopped to a financial services company called 7ticks. That's now like Interactive Data or something like that. They've done several iterations. They've done really well with it for themselves. But when I was there, it was like 9 of us.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Busted our butt day and night. That was a good treat back to startup life.
Yeah.
And then I jumped from there to switching data. And that started my, probably I don't know, 16, 17 year career with data centers. So I started with switching data, and we built out a bunch of new sites while I was working there. And then Equinix acquired us, and I worked for Equinix for a while. And then I decided my time had come to an end with Equinix, and I jumped to CoreSite, and I've been here ever since. Well, other than the little sabbatical.
Cool. So, one of the things that I think about a lot is I think, the entry into careers has changed quite a bit from when we got in to like what's going on now with somebody who, maybe young and trying to get in now. I wonder along that path, I mean, obviously, and the reason I say that is I think folks of our generation within the industry had to kind of self-learn a lot of this stuff because there weren't books, there wasn't YouTube videos. I don't think there even was YouTube at the time. So, in all of that, in that kind of, bootstrapping, self-learning, did you have any mentors along the way that kind of helped along, or was this really just kind of you paving your way and finding your path, or how did that work?
No, I mean, Daryl is a huge mentor to me for a long time. And, so Simon Atwell, you don't know him. He lives in Australia and works there now. He was another mentor for me at TDS. David Cook and Kevin Roberts, definitely looked out for me while I was there. Tony, God, what was his name? I'm just blanking on his name at Broadwing. He's at Neutral Tandem now. Or no, Peerless. He's at Peerless. Tony was a big advocate of me at Broadwing, and at Switching Data, some monsters there, Wayne Rio, Chris Casada, were both instrumental in my progress and my hires at Switching Data. And, I'd probably say since I've been at CoreSite, I've probably been a mentor to more people than had been a mentor to me.
Sure. Yeah.
In terms of management and not management, skills and stuff like that. My first boss, who's now retired, his name was Dominic Tobin, was a big impact on how I manage people. And, just he helped structure my management style.
Nice. How would you describe that management style?
I give you enough rope to hang yourself, and hopefully you
don't
use that rope wisely.
Yeah. Oh, I like it. That makes sense to me.
I have a really laid back style,
So are you able to have a laid back style because you hire well, or just, I mean, I'm guessing, maybe I'm inferring there that if you have the right team, then you don't have to be on top of them every day. So what do you look for when you're hiring somebody to know that they're going to use the rope for the right thing?
Well, so for one, I got gifted an awesome employee. His name's Jerome. He's one of my direct reports, and I haven't had to do much. He gets it. He has a sense of urgency. What I look for when I hire is, are you nice? Are you going to fit in with the team? Number one. And number two, a sense of urgency. And those are two things I can't train. Pretty much anything else besides those two things, I can train. And if you got it, you got it. And if you don't, I don't want you.
That makes sense. I like that a lot. I talk about passion, but I think sense of urgency may even be a better way to talk about it. Or maybe they're
related
parallel pieces. Yeah. Because I find that if people genuinely want to do the job that you're giving them, they will have that sense of urgency, right? They'll drive it forward. They'll push it. They'll be the ones coming to you asking for more and asking for the next thing and making sure things happen.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, that's interesting. Cool. Well, so on the side, I find it interesting, at least, again, for me, stuff I've done like within the industry and volunteer work and that kind of stuff has really driven my career. And obviously you said, you're the chair of the board of directors at PeeringDB, and you've done other volunteer work before that. Is that volunteer work, is that something that's been going on for a long time that's kind of helped build your career, or it's stuff you're doing now to give back? Or how do you view volunteerism in the industry kind of, alongside your career?
I'd say both. Some of it is a way to build my career, but some of it is obviously now it's not about building my career anymore. It's about giving back. So I'd say, my first volunteer effort in the community was to be the chair of the Nanog mailing list admin committee. The most thankless job in the world. And this was back in the Merit days. This is pre-Nunog. And it was Susan Harris was still there, and it was Susan and Randy Bush and all of them, and it was no fun.
And you're trying to moderate that mailing list to some degree. Yeah, I can imagine.
I unsubscribed and went to digest after I did that.
Once you're off you're like, all right, I've had enough with this mailing list for a while.
Yeah. And then I went to OpenIX.
Yeah.
And I volunteered for OpenIX for 2 years. Again, trying to improve interconnection. It's definitely, if you look at it, consistent through my career. And then, I've been on the board of directors for PeeringDB for 2 years and reelected for a second term. And I was elected president for this term. And it's a little crazy. And we're going to have to choose a new secretary treasurer soon and big decisions. So we got to put on our big boy pants.
Yep. Yeah. And that's nice. I mean, that is cool, right? Like being able to have, for lack of a better term, right, that synergy of doing multiple things that all actually have the same goal.
Yep.
At least for me, I'm able to do a lot more when I'm doing things like that, right? Because, if you're volunteering and working, and for me now, kind of out on my own, I'm actually doing like kind of 2 or 3 jobs, but they're all in that same vein. Mm-hmm. And so it all kind of fits together. And it sounds like that's been the same for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really focused on interconnection. Yeah. Cool. So, obviously have had a pretty awesome career. The position you're at is enviable by many. I think it's a great spot to be at a great company, doing a lot of work, giving back. Through all that success, I'm really curious if you could tell us about a time when you failed completely.
Oh man, failed completely. I don't know. I mean, we'll go back to the internet days. There were many times where we failed completely.
Sure.
There weren't any, like you said, there weren't any books, there weren't any guides. There was just us. It's like we had a router in Baraboo, Wisconsin that just forgot static routes periodically.
Fun.
Hey, cool. You want to add that static route back in there? Or we'd be cleaning up a pop, whatever, and oops, got the power. Huh. Yeah, put that back on. So stuff like that happened all the time when, in the old days, the days beyond time. Can't do that anymore.
No, everything's 5 nines and,
Yeah.
synthetic testing going on all the time. So even if nobody notices, somebody still notices.
Yeah. If you have a switch reload, took 3 minutes, say we need a RCA for that.
Yeah. Right.
So absolutely. On more recent times, I mean, we have had doozy outages. Not recently though. We've been pretty good recently. I mean, we had some in LA where we had some software bugs that just cascaded through our core and took the whole core down for 24 hours.
Oof.
We had a DWDM platform in New York that just randomly would turn channels on, turn channels off. It was crazy.
The ghost in the machine. That stuff's the most frustrating, I think, right? When it's just, shouldn't be possible. No one screwed up. It's just,
Yep. That one was special because, me and, one of my employees, actually it was Saturday. It had, it happened 3 or 4 times. This time it happened on a Saturday, and I literally went to the airport, and he got in his car. He was in Virginia. We flew to New York, or I flew to New York. He drove to New York. We went and cut the customers onto a new platform to get away.
Oh wow!
It was
yeah.
We decided, nope, we're done. We're gonna go unbox it and just do it. So
wild. That's a heck of a weekend, or week, or whatever it was. Yeah.
No, that was a heck of a day.
Yeah. Nice. Well, that's just about all the time we have for today. I know that's a bummer. Chris, we talked about a lot of the stuff you're working on. Is there any other projects or things you're, working on that you want people to be aware of, or stuff, anything to promote, or what's going on that folks in the Impostor Network should know about beyond what we talked about? Anything?
No, I mean, I think people should know about, if you're in interconnection space, you should definitely know about PeeringDB. You should definitely be registered on PeeringDB.gov and be active and participate in what we're doing. And other than that, have a great week.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thanks for sharing your story with the Imposter Syndrome Network. And thank you to all of our listeners for your attention and your support. If you found this conversation informative and entertaining, please consider sharing it with a friend, a colleague, a family member, or a student who could benefit from the insight our guests bring every week. But wait, Chris, I do have one more question for you, if you don't mind. Over 25 years of working around networks, being on teams, building teams, and all that entails, what would you say is the most valuable lesson you've learned in your career so far?
Be nice. Seriously. You don't know who you're dealing with half the time, and all you can do is be nice and be a genuine person. And that's my advice.
I like it. I like be nice. That's good. I actually have it in, I have this little like sheet where I keep track of kind of my personal goals and stuff that I try to look at least once a week. And at the top of it, in bold, it says, be nice.
I like it.
Because I need to remind myself sometimes. I'm not always great at it. I don't know about you.
I hear you.
Awesome. Well, we will be back next week. So I've got Twitter, Mastodon, Facebook, LinkedIn. And just so you're... Huh?
You found my Mastodon?
Yeah, I don't know how. I forget now. Because I put these notes together like before we were supposed to record the first time.
Yeah.
And so now I'm like looking at it, I'm like discovering like, oh, I'm pretty smart, man. I did my research here. It's cool. I had no idea.